So this is Command Modern Air Naval Operations, CMANO, and I'm just going to go over some of the basics of how I start out in a scenario, of how I set up stuff. I am by no means very good at this game, but I have learned a lot over the last year or two, and some of those things are things I wished I'd learned early on when I was trying to figure it out, because there were plenty of times where I was just about to give up because I just couldn't figure out certain basic things, or at least things that are pretty basic to me now. So this is a scenario I built. So in the middle down here at the bottom, we have the island of Hispaniola, which is an old name for this island. It's really the Dominican Republic and Haiti. I'm just pretending it's a third-party island, and this is just sort of a red versus blue scenario. So the fact that this is Cuba doesn't really have anything to do with it. And so I'm on the blue side here. I've got a forward operating base here. I've got another base back here. I've got a LCS here, a destroyer, a little surface group, and an amphibious group. The basic mission is going to be to invade parts of the island. We're sort of going to take control of the top part of it. These green things are a neutral side, and by occupying these areas, we'll be able to activate those. I'm probably not going to get that far in this video. I'm just going to do some basic setup stuff. So you can see I've got some subs that are around the island already, and they have dropped off some SEAL recon teams, and I'm just going to send those guys out to look around and see what's there. And then I'm going to set up a combat air patrol over here with a prosecution zone and some ASW stuff up here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I have a AWACS plane over here. I'm going to set up a patrol area for it. Whoops, I'm playing in editor mode right now. I want to create a reference point here, and I want two of them because I want the AWACS plane to fly back and forth. So all I did was control right click, add reference point, and then I control clicked on that reference point and dragged another one out. I'm going to get rid of those two. Once I have them highlighted, if I press Control and Delete, that's how you can delete the reference points. So I'm going to select these again so they're highlighted, go up here to the mission editor, add new mission, call it AWACS. It's going to be a support mission. Open up the mission editor, sure. From here, we're going to find the AWACS. It's in the middle here. And I'm just going to choose these three, the black ones currently airborne, the red one's getting ready, and the green one is ready on land. Move those over into here. I do want them on the 1/3 roll so that they'll always be one on station. And then I'm going to go to mission doctrine, and I need to turn their radars on. Yes, go back. And then there's one thing here, tankers, I don't want them to refuel, so we're going to say not allowed. And now that I have them going, I'm going to go ahead and start the time at 1 second. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to set up a cap over our forward operating base here. And to do that, I'm going to control and right click again. And I'm going to say define area rectangle. And I'm just going to draw a box. This is going to be the patrol area, but then I'm going to have a prosecution zone that goes all over this. So if anything comes into this area, they'll go. Otherwise, they'll just stay up here in the little box. Add new mission, and we'll call this FOB cap, and this type is going to be patrol AW. Click OK, and I have a bunch of F-15s that I already know are over at this base, and I'm just going to add all of them in, although before that, since the game is running, we'll stop it. I'm going to change it from the 1/3 rule to I want 2 in the air all the time if it can do it. And there's 14 of them, so that should be pretty decent for a while. So that's their patrol area. I also want them to have a prosecution area. So we'll change this to prosecution. And we're going to control right click again, rectangle. And this time we're going to draw a bigger rectangle like that. And you see how it deselected the other points. Now we're going to add points currently on map to the prosecution area. Now you can flip back and forth just for the points, not showing you any different, but you can see the 2 squares here. That's a patrol area where they'll stay. Anytime somebody comes into this zone, they'll go out and try and attack to them. And for that to happen, you need to have investigate contacts outside the patrol area checked. For the way I do it, that's the only time I ever have that checked, is if you have a prosecution area. Otherwise, they might go clear across the map and attack something. So I've got the planes added in. I've got the zones set up. I do want them to be able to refuel, but by default it's set to 60. That's pretty high to me. I'm going to change it to 30. And then I'm going to go into the doctrine. And this is where I struggled early on. Over here under weapon state pre-plan, use loadout setting. I hardly ever use that. It seems like that's basically set if they shoot one missile, they turn around and go back to the base. I'm going to do all BVR beyond visual range or standoff weapons have been expended. Allow easy targets of opportunity within visual range. No air-to-air guns. I like that. I'm going to set that. And let's see if there's anything else in here. I am going to change this to passive. Since they're going to have an AWACS behind them and there is actually a radar on the ground there, I think they're going to know what's going on. They don't need to have the radars on. We could change some of this in here. And I think I will do that in case there's some guided weapons. Let's see. I'm going to change the max range that they'll shoot it at to 45. And I'm going to leave the rest of it there. So let's see, we changed the weapons doctrine over here. And we changed the radars to be off. We've got the prosecution zone set up. We've got all of the fighters we want in there. Keep in mind with the, try to keep 2 units of each class. All of these are the same class. If I added some other units in there, which have got some 22s and some F-35s, it would be trying to keep 2 of each of those class on station. I'm not going to do that yet. As they're needed, I will add them in and that'll be okay. So we'll click out of that. Start the game up again. And let's see, we'll work on the subs now. One thing that that gets in my way a lot is it's highlighting the zones for the mission. That's the last thing I selected. I'm frequently going off to another unit, especially the AWACS one, because it only has a small zone, and I click on it and close it, and now it's back to highlighting that, so I don't have the pink area in the middle of the screen. There's a setting where you can turn that off, but it seems like it's turned off all the time. I kind of wish there was a little button up here where you could turn it on and off to see it, but such is life. This sub here, what are we going to do with it? I think we're going to take it back here. So basically the red side has control of everything down here, and there is a convoy somewhere in here. I think it's on this side, but I'm going to go ahead and move this guy over this way. That was F3. Now I'm going to press F2, and of course that screen's on my other screen. And I'm going to set it to creep, and I'm going to go just over the layer. So I got that guy taken care of. There's already, can't tell whether these are biologics or whether they're actual subs. This guy I'm going to take out to here. He's just under the layer. We're going to do creep on that. I'm going to take him out to here because I'm going to move all of these ships straight through there off to somewhere in here. So I'm going to have that sub go out there and check out what's going on over there. This sub, I want to go back around here, and this is all pretty deep, so I'm going to have him go pretty quick, as deep as possible, and we'll do flank. This guy, we're going to have him creep around, just over the layer, creep. And then this is something I'm playing around with. This is a UUV, unmanned underwater vehicle. I just put a sonar on it. So far it doesn't do a whole lot, but it's worked a little bit. I'm going to set it to shallow and then full speed. It's tiny. I don't think anything's going to detect it. Could be wrong. So now I've got the subs done. That could be a problem. Maybe we'll slow that guy down. And now we'll do our recon. And here I'm going to move this guy out to the edge. He should be able to see if there's any large ships or anything over there. Move this guy over here. Move this guy over here. And I can tell by there's a little shading here, I can tell there's a port right there. So I have that guy go snoop on that. These guys over here, the high ground looks like where I would be if I was the red side. So I'm going to move these guys up to there. And keep in mind, this is a CL recon unit. It's practically invisible. If you go look at its signature, visual detection range, 0.001 nautical miles. They can basically go stand next to anything they want and they're not going to get detected, more or less. Back over here. We know the briefing said that there's enemy units around here, so I'm just going to have this guy sort of take the high ground above this so he can snoop on it. Have this guy move over a little. Again, this guy is going to take some high ground here. Same with that guy. Same thing over here. Alright, so we got all those moving. We got the subs taken care of. Got our cap going. There's nothing at that thing. And so these guys are not going anywhere. So the Amphibious group has a lot of units that need to land over here. I'm basically going to move everything straight through here. And I have some P3s over at this base. I'm going to have them performing ASW around here. Plus there's quite a few helicopters. And then I like the LCS for, I think it's a pretty good ASW platform. So what I'm going to do is have the LCS move at full speed, which is pretty darn quick, 35 knots. And this destroyer, I'm going to have it move pretty quick. We're going to do 25 knots for it. And they're sort of going to be the early warning as to what's going on. And then the main surface group, we're just going to do cruise. Same thing with the Amphibious group, it's going to be cruise. And then we're going to set up some ASW stuff. First thing we're going to do on that is draw another rectangle. And sort of align it to where they're going to go. This is going to be for the P3s. And then I'm going to have these points move relative to the surface group. That's under mission. And now the points for the mission are going to move wherever the ship goes relative to whatever direction it's moving. Took me a while to figure that out. I would set up a zone like this and the ship would move right out of it and I'd be searching for stuff way behind it. So now we're going to go up here, add mission. We're going to call this P3 ASW. This is going to be a patrol ASW. And I know there's some P3s. There's 4 P3s. I'm going to move all of them over. Again, it's going to be 1/3. And investigate contacts outside the patrol area. I don't do that unless there's a prosecution area because I think they'll go across the map to find something, which for a P3 is probably not that big of a deal. The P3s I don't want to be able to tank, so I'm going to say not allowed. And I don't think there's any doctrine stuff I'm worried about on them. Close that. And from here I'm going to press Control N to deselect those reference points. And now we're going to set up a smaller zone inside of that for the helicopters. So I'm going to Control right click, add a reference point, Control drag that to make a new one, Control drag that to make another one, and then I'm going to select them. And then I'm going to make these relative. We'll make them relative to the destroyer. And then we'll do another add new mission. And again, it's going to be patrol and ASW. And I'm just going to deselect the investigate contacts outside the patrol area. I don't actually know what the units are that I'm going to put in there, so I'm going to close that. I have the mission. And then I'll just click on the ships to select them. And of course that's in the other window. These are readying, but we'll put them in the mission. And I think there's some on here that we'll steal. And I'm gonna leave some for a rainy day. How long were they gonna take these to be ready? That's not bad. Okay, that was the biologics on that sub there. So we're gonna go ahead and speed him back up and back to deep as possible. Let's see. So we've got our cap starting over here at this base. I do have some F-16s, and I'm going to go ahead and add them to the cap as well. And again, this is set to 2 units of each class, so there's going to be 2 of these on patrol as well as the 2 F-15s. And let's see, as far as basic setup, we could use some refuelers. Again, we'll add a reference point. And I still have these selected, so I'm going to press Control-N to deselect. And then I'm just going to grab these again, make a new mission, and refuel as support. Okay. And I got some strata tankers up here. I'll just choose 3. I don't want them. Well, there's only going to be 1 on station, but we're not going to allow them to refuel each other. And again, there's no doctrine for them that I need to worry about. So they'll be behind the AWACS. I think that's mostly it. There is a Global Hawk here that I'm going to launch. And again, I don't know what's going on just yet. You know, the first order for this scenario is to scout out and see what's going on. See, there's already some enemy aircraft coming in. So I don't. This video is not going to go over anything else other than just the basic setup. For me, the most important parts of that were the relative, being able to move the reference points relative to a unit, and then what we did on this mission where we set the doctrine for the weapon state. That used to drive me crazy. Couldn't figure out why they were returning to base already. And then also the same thing with the refueling. It's 60%. By the time I needed them, they were turning around to go to a tanker. Setting it lower, there's a much greater chance they're going to launch their missiles and go back to base before they even refuel, which is kind of what I want them to do. And so what do we got going on over here? Got P3s going. Let's speed it up a little bit. I think that is all the setup I need to do for now. So basically with the prosecution zone, sometimes I start out a little bit smaller when you're trying to figure out what's going on, and then as you get more and more air superiority, assuming you do get that, then you can start making this bigger and bigger. And so on this particular scenario, that's the way I've been doing it, is that as I understand more and more what's on the island, I make it bigger and bigger to try and control the greater area, especially once I get the amphibious group down here and I start doing paratroopers and dropping off Marines. It's critical that all this area is covered by the cap. And so as I make this area bigger, I'll also move the patrol area a little bit closer to where I think there's going to be a problem. That way I don't have to go as far. If the patrol area is still back here and something's over here that's important, they got a long ways to go, whereas you can move this the basic patrol area wherever you think it needs to be that's closest to the action.